through. You can open up and just receive. 'Cause what he's pouring out is nothing you've ever seen. You've ever seen. So hello peace, hello joy, hello love, hello strength, hello hope. It's a new horizon. Hello peace, hello joy, hello love, hello strength, hello hope. It's a new horizon.
It's a new horizon, guys. Propel your business and life. I'm Megan DiMartino, and I am thrilled to be here this evening with you and share about Propel Deep Dive with my guest, Sue Phillips. Before we go into Sue, inviting Sue into the studio and talking this evening about clarity, I'd just like to give you a little background to myself as well as Propel and what we are doing here. Basically, Propel is for you. It's to help you glean information to start, scale, and sustain the business and life of your dreams. I've been building businesses in the beauty and health and wellness space for 30 plus years. I've developed two skincare brands and have sold 3 businesses. So I've continued to build and then create more. So I have tremendous experience in that, starting, scaling, sustaining. And you have to, though, put together the life as well. Because as they say, if you don't have a life that's congruent with your business, you've just started another job. So I want to help you really see through not only myself, but other guests. And that's why I do have guests join me each week, because you'll be able to see through their lives and what they have done, that congruency of building a business, building then their life with it. So my 5 C's are clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. These are my 5 non-negotiables to starting, scaling, and sustaining a business. I mentor many people, have over the years, hundreds. And so these tools are tried and true. It's not just for myself and my own business, but for you and for others that I have helped. So these 5 C's we discuss each week, one of them. And today we're starting again, because we just did compassion last week. And today we're starting again with clarity. And what better guest to have with me this evening is my dear friend, Sue Phillips, the international fragrance creator, and who has started, scaled, and sustained many businesses. And I cannot wait for you to meet my dear friend, Sue. Hello, my love.
Hello, hello. How lovely to be with you again. You look terrific. I love your hat.
Thank you. You know, it's very hot here, Sue, very hot and very dry. And with fine hair, it is not a good hair situation. So I tend to wear a lot of hats. People say, oh, I love your hats. Well, it's out of necessity, really. And that's really what Propel is about. It's about tools from out of necessity. And so as Angeline, my producer, shared earlier in the green room, that we'll chat a bit, and then people will come in, because this is being streamed into YouTube, LinkedIn Live, as well as the Propel Business Facebook page. And we do have a Propel Clubhouse, I guess it's called, on Clubhouse, the Propel House. So it's over there as well. So it's all over the place. But then people come in to StreamYard who are part of this group. They can sign up at any time. I have a daily texting inspiration and motivation message every day called the Propel Daily. And then I do that Tuesday that you were with me last week, yes, in BWC, Breakfast with Champions, which I call the Propel Weekly. And then this deep dive, which I do on Thursday night. So it's all congruent together to give people, that motivation, that inspiration, and that education, as Glenn Lundy speaks about. But as you know, my friend, you have to take action. And so now with that action point, clarity is the beginning point. I'm sure you would agree. With everything you have
I
done.
think you have to.
Pardon me?
You have to have a vision. You have to know what you're doing and where you're going in order to move forward. So clarity is absolutely important.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. And the vision and mission for sure is, but you have to get clear as you're putting that vision together. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your history for our guests who were not with us last week and don't know you, but we met actually on Clubhouse in your beautiful Clubhouse room back in 21. And so we have built that rapport as business women and also in the beauty space, as well as we met in real time over Christmas holiday this past year, had a beautiful lunch with you near your studio. I'd like you to share a little bit about that. But before we get there, I just want you to share, because again, back to clarity, you are from South Africa.
Yes.
And you were a child actress in South Africa. And your brother came to the United States first, and it was the bicentennial. We just had our 4th of July celebration, but the bicentennial in 76, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And you were so, just excited by the energy of specifically New York. And New York is just the capital of the world with theater, certainly. And so you saw yourself, vision, you saw yourself here. You went, to England. You said, oh my goodness, how, dreary and non-progressive. Went back home and said to your parents, I'm packing my bags and coming to New York, And
You've got it, Pat. You've got my story down, Pat. It's fantastic.
Good. So, well, that's, I think that is my anointing, Sue. People call me after interviewing, like back in the day when I did Unique Leaders and you were on that, and your interview or our conversation on BWC last week, people call me and say, that is your anointing, girl, to interview people. But you know why? And that's what I say to anyone that will say that to me, and it's often, is I listen to people. I'm very interested in people and what makes them tick and how do they evolve. So you came to New York with stars in your eyes, but you needed a green card, that ever popular, ever necessary green card. And so this is my first question, because yes, I did your history, your story. But here you are, and you need a green card. But what was that vision at first? Obviously, it was not fragrance at that point yet. So was it to be an actress in New York, Sue?
Yes, the vision that I had at the time was definitely to get into the acting world. And I knew how terribly difficult it would be. Mm-hmm. And, the world of theater and show business and entertainment is so precarious. If there are literally thousands of people every single day knocking on doors, tapping on agents' doors, even, going door to door to meet people. So, and particularly in New York, it's even more precarious. And when the immigration attorney said to me, we've got 20,000 out of work actresses, we don't need another one, that really, it came home to me to say, mm-hmm. What the hell are you doing? Do you really think you can do this? Mm-hmm. But part of my DNA is that I don't give up. I just don't give up. And so when he said to me, what else do you do? And I remember my mother's words, and I recalled her saying, if you're going to be in theater, it's such a precarious position and job to be in, you have to have something to fall back on and go and do something that, will stand you in good stead, and go and do a secretarial course. And so I had done that in South Africa. But, now I'm in New York. I haven't done that for years. And when the guy said to me, what else do you do? Those words reverberated in my mind. And I said, Well, I had done an executive secretarial course. And he said, well, were you any good? And by the way he asked the question, I knew that I had to say yes. And I said yes, because that would be my ticket to America. And that's exactly what happened. He had a friend who's an immigration attorney looking for an executive assistant. Now, you would have thought there are a dime a dozen executive assistants in New York City. And thankfully, he saw something in me that allowed me to get my green card and go under that visa, if you will. Because when I met the second immigration attorney, his friend, he wanted to hire me immediately the next day. You know, I might have met him on a Friday. He said, well, can you start on Monday? And I had to say, well, no, I have to really do a refresher course because I haven't done it for a while. But my vision was, okay, I'll go and do the refresher course. This is in the days before cell phones, before computers, really. And I looked up the yellow pages to find one of those executive schools like Catherine Gibbs. And I enrolled and I signed up for 2 weeks. And I got my skills back up. What were the skills? Shorthand and typing.
Mm-hmm.
For a legal company, that's what you needed, to take legalese shorthand. And so I did it. And, I don't have any qualms about the fact that I started off in New York City as an executive assistant or executive secretary, because, you can't say, oh, executive secretary, so terrible. Listen, you do what you have to do. You just do what you have to
I want
do.
to stop you for a minute because I want our guests and people who are going to listen to this on YouTube and the like, I want them I want to focus on two things that you said here. Meaning that he said, actress in New York or a wannabe actress is a dime a dozen. So you knew that, you did. I mean, you were realistic on that as well. But you have that drive and that, as they say in Yiddish, that chutzpah,
Right.
to never stop. And those are the words you said, I will not stop. But you had that drive in you. It's like what Napoleon Hill speaks about in Think and Grow Rich, that burning desire. So you may not have had the vision at that moment to be, a Tony Award winning actress on the stages in New York, but you were going to make it like Frank Sinatra, you're going to make it anyway in New York. So you knew as you knew. But the other thing that, so he said, what else do you do? And you said what you said. But the other key to what you said, and this is where people will fold, they will, is he said, are you any good? Well, the way he phrased that, it was, really kind of disrespectful-ish. But yet in a recruiting question, that's asking, how are your skills? Meaning he could have asked it differently, but I love how he asked it. Any good girl, kind of thing. Well, I'm a New Yorker, so I know the ropes there. And but are you any good? But you had the chutzpah to say yes.
Now, I want to tell you something. Do you know how difficult that was for me to say yes? Because growing up in South Africa, we never gave ourselves props for anything. It was always, you had to be a little bit discreet and a little bit reserved. You could never blow your own horn or toot your own accomplishments. It was just the way the
Right.
society was. So we never talked about anything of substance. You didn't talk about sex or race or religion or politics or any of your endeavors. You just basically went along and spoke about the weather, and you never, ever, ever, as they used to say, waved your own flag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for him to say, were you any good? And for me to answer with absolute clarity, yes, I was, took an enormous amount of courage, believe it or not, because, the one thing you never want to be accused of is bragging yourself and being, blowing your own horn and,
Right.
and giving, it was always, let your actions speak louder than words. Your
Right.
actions will always speak louder than words, and your words will just be there.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow or other, if I'd have equivocated and said, well, I was not so, I wouldn't have got it. I
No.
wouldn't,
No.
And so I just knew, and I was a young age, that I had to extol my virtues, and I was good. I was.
Absolutely. But he was also intrigued by you because you're beautiful your fabulous accent, that that exuberance that you, I'm sure, displayed, not foolhardy and not foolish, but yet that enthusiasm that you displayed. So I'm sure he was very intrigued. But like you just said, he did not want to put himself into, a place where saying, hey, this gal is great, because he needed to have that assurance that you did know what you were doing.
Right.
But it was very wise also to be honest and say I needed a brush up.
Yes.
And so that was very, very wise. So I want our guests to really glean from this information, because again, guys, the stories will be different, absolutely different. But on the other side of that, the essence is always the same, meaning that you come to a turning point in your life, that you have to make these split-second decisions, but that comes with that clarity and courage. Sue was clear. She was not going back home to South Africa, and she was not going to England. She was going to make it in New York, however that was going to be. So you started working, then you took the course, you started working for that attorney, you did your time, so to speak, got your green card, and then you were off and running. So, but the question before you go into that next phase is, did you start doing any theater during that season?
Yes, exactly. I did. And the reason being that I was still interested, obviously, in theater, and it fueled my passion. So I landed up going to some auditions, and I went to some of these clubs. And at night, I would actually land up going to do singing and acting at some of these clubs. They were off Broadway, off Broadway. They were so far off Broadway, they nearly fell off Broadway. But it was so much fun. I joined some of these improv clubs, and at night I would go and practice my craft. I would join these clubs and sing and act and so on. So I felt that I still kept my hand in, so to speak. And it was fun. I also landed up doing I landed up going to some agencies for voiceovers because I thought that would be interesting. I became a member of SAG-AFTRA. I'm probably I've had my SAG-AFTRA card for so long, and I keep on renewing it every year. And even though I never got major gigs, I just felt very good that I have my SAG-AFTRA card, which I still have today. And funnily enough, coming full circle, I'm now back acting again, which is fascinating. So
exactly. But you said a key word, that is your passion.
Yes.
We have a purpose, but your passion is that creative, that acting. And SAG, for people who do not know, that's Screen Actors Guild. So Miss Sue has been a proud member of the Screen Actors Guild for many years. So,
a fully paid up member. Fully paid up member.
But the other piece to that point is that you're ever ready.
Yes.
You're ever ready, meaning that you are ready to do whatever comes. Like you said, now you're doing some projects. We'll get there in a minute. So, so basically, we have an affinity because we're in New York, very similar years there, and ironically, kind of walking path to path, because she, after got her green card and did her time with that attorney, immigration attorney, she got a job in cosmetics. And so and I was working in the city, in nationally too, but in that world, in the different world, but the same. So share a little bit about that.
Well, so the position that I got at Elizabeth Arden was, again, because at that point, I just had gotten my green card. And again, I went to a headhunter, and a headhunter introduced me and basically got me 3 jobs. And I turned down 2 of them. The one was to work in banking, which I didn't think was for me. One was to work in fashion design for Pierre Cardin. And, we had been so fashion backwards in South Africa, so I didn't feel that I could do anything in fashion. But the 3rd job offer was to work at Elizabeth Arden as the executive assistant to the president of the company. So I thought, my goodness, that's a great, it was the executive suite. And I got the position, and he was enthralled with the way I looked and the way I sounded, sort of very much typifying the executive role, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined him, and I said to him at the time, I said, look, my passion is really theater, and I don't want to be an executive secretary for the rest of my life. I found the moxie to say that. But at night, I would go singing and acting. And so I would invite the Arden, management. Anytime I was in a show, they would see me. And then for the sales meetings, whenever there was a national sales meeting, they had all these wonderful venues and wonderful at the sales meeting, there's always some kind of entertainment. And so I was on the entertainment committee. So I would sing and act and whatever I needed to do. So they knew that I could perform in front of people. And then 2 years after my stint with the president, he said to me, Sue, there's a position open for training in fragrance. And I think you'd be great in training. And I said, well, what's training? And he said, you'd have to train the beauty advisors behind the counter who sell the fragrance products. And I thought that was great. Suddenly, the world of perfume kind of just opened up for me. And I just thought it was wonderful. And I had to actually do my stint again, prove myself all over again at Macy's. He said, in order for you to be the national training director, you have to understand the customer, how to sell, how to speak to somebody, the product knowledge, and then be able to motivate the people behind the counter when you eventually go on the road. And that's exactly what I did. So I was at Macy's for 3 months. I was a little miffed. I said, well, I'm a college graduate. I really don't want to do that. But, the old idea of, well, if you're a shop girl, it's not such a prestigious role. But in fact, it was one of the best lessons of my life. Learning to greet the customer, talk to the customer, understand who the customer is, and help them really choose a fragrance that they loved. And so that was a great learning experience for me. And then I traveled around around the country, and for 2 years setting up training schools. And what I did was I created an ambiance, which is something that, we talk about now, experiences. But, a training can be very dry. It's like you come in, you learn, the people have a nice breakfast, they learn about the product, and then they leave. But what I wanted to do was to create something memorable and something very emotional for them, and that connected to the fragrance. And so I'd have beautiful music playing in the beginning when they came into the room. I'd have the fragrance wafted and misted into the air so that they entered the world of Chloe or Lagerfeld. And I would have beautiful visuals typifying what the world of fashion represented. So when they walked into a supposedly dreary training room in a hotel or a conference room, I turned it into this magical oasis. And they were so excited and so pumped and motivated to get out and sell that when they left the school, sales went sky high. So they were able to actually quantify how the training schools went, because sales were so, sales increased after the training schools.
So, with the creating the experience, I've done that again throughout all my different, ventures. But this is about you, and this is about Propel and our guests, not about me. But what I do want to ask you with that, creating that, the environment. I think it's very important to have people understand, even today when there are things are so fast, things are on Zoom, things are, so less personal. It's also extremely important and that's where branding comes in,
Yes.
to create your essence and who you are. And you can do that in a myriad of ways. And what Sue is sharing right now, back when she was an employee of Elizabeth Arden, she was creating that ambiance and that experience for these sales consultants who were used to, in and out, flam bam, thank you, ma'am, but memorable. And do you not think they were going to sell the Elizabeth Arden fragrance over whomever? So it's about being seen, being known, but being clear. Clarity leads to power. Being clear who you are, and what your brand is. So you left there with all of that training, but you were like, that serendipity, right? That serendipity of the gentleman offering you that position in fragrance. It could have been in glamour, it could have in glamour meaning color cosmetics. It could have been in other things, but fragrance. So God was near. And so you then went from there to Lancome,
Well,
correct?
yes, at Arden, I was there for 6 years. So after 2 years, they promoted me to color cosmetics, and then 2 years to marketing, because I knew that marketing was really the way to the place to be in order to get ahead. And then I met the president of Lancome at the time. We went to one of these black tie functions, and he was there and I was there. And he said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm, in fragrance marketing, Elizabeth Arden." He said, "Oh," he said, "Well, we need somebody for fragrance." And at the time, Lancome had a little tiny brand called Magie Noire. Do you remember it?
I do.
So Magie Noire was a beautiful fragrance. It was it's a chypre, very sophisticated fragrance. And, Lancome was always really 80% cosmetics. Well, it's 50% cosmetics and 48% cosmetics, 48% treatment. And the rest was, the tiny little percentage point of fragrance. And so they hired me as marketing director for fragrance. And because it was such a small part of the overall portfolio, they also gave me men's skincare. So I loved developing the men's skincare, which we call Program Homme, and fragrance. So I became Miss Magie and Miss Program Homme, and I would wave both flags, because I just loved the fact that I could help fragrance, but fragrance was a very small percentage of the overall business. But Program Homme, the treatment, was interesting for men, and at that time, Lancome did not have any counter space in the men's bar, so we had to sell the men's fragrance in the women's bar.
Wow.
And that was a challenge unto itself. But ultimately, I was there for 4 years, and then Tiffany came knocking at my door. I got a call from a headhunter whose name was Frank Shields. That's Brooke Shields' father, and they had heard about me in the industry, and I was going to say auditioned. I interviewed for the part, and I got it. And now, I say to everybody, if you'd have told me growing up in South Africa that one day I would be executive vice president of Tiffany and Company in New York City, I'd say you're crazy. But it happened, and it was a wonderful honor, and it was an incredible position. And I'm thrilled to this day that I had that opportunity.
So let's just recap before we go now into you. Again, guys, I want you to really own this. When you say, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't have an idea to do, hell, I really don't think I can do anything, what can I do? That doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. You just have to have dreams, and dreams will become a goal. But Sue, wanted to leave South Africa and come to the United States, but she had no earthly idea what she was going to do. And the opportunities unfolded by saying yes. She had obviously a college degree, and she also had a secretarial course that her mom encouraged her to do. But to be prepared for this type of situation. But it was that saying yes, but that dream of being in New York and taking the opportunities that unfolded. And yes, the theater was part of that. I have to put my glasses on to see who is there. Hello, Miss Pamela.
Pamela and Katrina.
Hello. Thank you.
Katrina, yes, and Katrina doesn't have a photo, but we see you there, my dear. Well, welcome to Propel's Deep Dive. And have you been here before, Pamela?
Yes, I have. And thank you again. I'm on vacation. I'm just popping in for a minute. I saw you were up, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the same time zone now.
Where are you? Where are you?
Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Taking a little beach time. But I got so many confirmations out of this. Because I've been focusing on getting clear and getting disciplined and getting intentional and being consistent, because that is what brings the success in life. And I mean, I just heard you Sue, talking, you were in your zone. You didn't try to stretch out, but you were already there. And then you added, a little side with the men's line, but you stayed in what you knew and you rose up, and that just speaks volumes to me, really, because when you get that clear and you stay focused on your main goal, you know, like you said, Megan, opportunities are going to come. You're going to rise. You're going to lift others with you. It's really amazing what will happen when you get that clarity and specificity in your
Yeah.
life.
Absolutely, Pamela. It's really, that's why it's the first C, because without that clarity, you will, and I'm not being a harbinger of bad news. I'm just saying you will jump from one thing to the next to the next. That's one of the reasons why direct sales is very dangerous, because, and I see it. I mean, and we've been on Clubhouse, Sue and I, for 3 years, and I see it even in these 3 years, these people jumping from one product to the next, and they probably most of them haven't even used it.
Right.
So how can you, that's another key thing to Sue's story and my story, is that meaning that if you love what you love, like you said, intentional, Pamela, then you're staying in your wheelhouse. Sue is a beautiful woman with, and back to what you said about not tooting your horn, Sue, quite frankly, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't care where you lived, it was not something that women did. It
Exactly.
wasn't. I'll never forget going. I had started my first skincare brand, Glycolique, 92. And I went to the distributor trade show, which I did every year for the two national corporations that I work for. And, but now it's my own business. Okay. I presented the program, the distributors who they knew me, they bought the whole everything, all the inventory that hadn't been even made yet, right? I then had POs, purchase orders. I went to a bank that knew me and wanted to get a business loan. And do you know what he said to me? Where's your husband?
Oh, I hate that. Oh, but that's what happened in those days.
Yes. Where is your husband?
Exactly.
I said, whatever his name was, I don't have one of those. How patronizing. And I said that to him.
Yeah.
I said that to him. And he went, well, baby, whatever he said. But here I had purchase orders
Right.
that were going to, and then some, pay for, cover that loan. But, so back to what you said, Pamela, and anyone listening to us, is that it's, again, it made it more difficult, but did it stop me? No, because I had worked since I was, in New York as a, young gal, and then on and on and on. I knew as I knew. I had an epiphany, ladies. One day I was working in the buying office in Bloomingdale's in New York, but then I married and had a child, got a little too difficult to commute. So I worked in the Stanford store, and they were bringing a cosmetic line in from London called Biba.
Sure.
And they were positioning it, though, revolutionary, in the junior department, not in the major cosmetic department. And one day I was there, and I was trained by the Biba makeup artist. And one day I was there with my bell bottoms and ruffled shirt and long hair. And actually was positioned in the main corridor there in Stanford, outside of the junior department. And I, was doing a makeup for someone. And Don McLean's Bye Bye American Pie was playing, I remember this, visceral, on the background. And I had an epiphany that day saying, someday I'm going to do this. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant. This meaning, was it going to be color cosmetics like Biba? Was it, I didn't really know.
Oh, we've lost Megan, but she'll be back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Crazy doing it on your phone and you get these calls. But I didn't, know exactly what it was. Just like you coming to New York. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. Hello. Move my phone. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be creative and it was going to be in that genre. So,
Well, I think you also knew, you also had a vision. And I think, for women, look, there were probably three paths for women in those days. You could become a teacher, you could
mhm,
become a nurse, you could become a secretary.
mhm,
And you were only really validated if you had a man in your life and
mhm.
if you were going to be married and had a family. Well, I was married, as you were, but at the time, I really wanted to kind of make it on my own, so to speak. And I think, thank goodness, things have changed now so much so that people can stand on their own merit, and you don't have to look around and say, well, who's your sidekick who's going to help you, kind of thing.
Exactly. No, and I'm so thrilled that Pamela came in for a brief time. She's on vacation, but she listened to our,
Yes,
conversation and said this has been so helpful for her to know that it's about that vision, that mission, like you said earlier. But you have to then take those steps of starting and never stopping, and never stopping.
exactly.
Yeah. So then you had a daughter, you were married, as you just said, you had a child, and so you left corporate world, and you then went to, I mean, started your own businesses.
Right. So
So,
I left Tiffany to have my daughter, and I decided to do consulting, and it was very. I started my business as Susan Phillips Enterprises, which was not very creative or glamorous, but I get very creative thoughts very late into the night or early morning, and I kept on thinking of Scent and Enterprises, so I came up with Centerprises. So that's my company name. And this was the first. Now, you have to understand something, Megan. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever be in business. I did take a legal theory course. I did take a business course. I did take the secretarial course just to, provide a platform for me in case of, so to speak. And when I started my business, Enterprises, I had to put a business plan together. I had to, become incorporated. You have to have all these logistical things that nobody teaches you. Do you have a DNA? What's a DNA number or something? You have
well, your tax ID,
tax
number.
ID and a
Mhm.
DBA number and all these logistical things that you only learn once you're fully entrenched. So, and then I started consulting. I consulted for Fragrance of Burberry, and then Trish McAvoy and Avon and Lancaster, and everything was really going great. I mean, I had so many clients; it was wonderful. And then finally, the 2008, the economy crashed, so all the consulting dried up. But by that stage, I'd become well known as a fragrance expert, and I'd learned so much about fragrance that I decided, well, with my English background, why not come up with a bespoke fragrance concept? And at that time, nobody even knew what the term bespoke meant. It was a British term, which is basically customized, custom made to order. And I started that, and working from my apartment, and I would have people come into the apartment, and I sort of, at the time, we just got involved with the computer and just got involved in Facebook and starting those kinds of initiatives. And people said, well, what are you doing? Tupperware parties at home for perfume? And they laughed. And the thing is that it was just something that I had to do, and I continued. And then I had met somebody who said to me, Sue, you really need a boutique. I said, well, I can't afford a boutique. And I landed up going downtown. I found this this hole in the wall place down in the basement of a loft in Tribeca. And because of my mom's ability of painting and decoration and interior design, I have a vision. And I turned this sort of the cubbyhole of a den in downtown Tribeca into an oasis in the heart of Tribeca, and was charming. And I filled it with my mom's paintings, and again, set up a beautiful room and an ambiance. And when people came in, they said, wow. So I've always created the wow factor, which I love.
Mhm.
And people like Jamie Foxx came down, and Katie Holmes and Zendaya. I mean, these people found me.
Mhm.
It's amazing how they did, but they did. And that was at the time of Google started. So, it was a wonderful confluence of starting my own business, having people find me and getting their reviews on Google, and just finding my way and becoming more and more confident as I was able to do these things.
Again, every step of the way not only endorses that clarity and you're building that muscle of courage and confidence, but you're also gaining experience. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing that is invaluable is, and you were sharing earlier about starting a business. That's part of this Propel program because, and it has two modules, start and scale. And starting, like you just said, people have no clue. Intellectual property, what is that? Getting a trade, their name marked, getting, your,
The guns number and all that kind of thing.
yes, but
Yes.
even not just, because you can hire an accountant and they can set that up if you have the funds to do that. But like you and I, we just step by step learned that. But also from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, you said about Facebook and everything else in between. So it is a very, very important piece to the success, which is the foundation. That's meaning your history from that cubbyhole turning into an oasis there in Tribeca, which is downtown New York, guys. Not in Wall Street, but right before that area, Soho and that area. But you created that environment, and then that turn of economy happened, and you just continued on. You didn't stop. You just kept reinventing, but I
Right.
hate that term because you were already invented. And there's my friend Brian. Hello, hello, my love. I'll
Hello.
introduce you guys in a minute. But you didn't reinvent. You just continued to evolve. That is on
Yeah.
my title is CEO, Chief Evolve Officer. So you continued
Well, I
to
think
evolve.
it's important to maybe navigate your way, because you never, I don't believe that we have one straight path.
No.
I think one straight path is very boring. I mean, because things happen to you in life, and so the twists and the turns of life force you to become, transformative. They force you to re-examine things. They force you to recalibrate your life. And when all the consulting dried up, and then when the pandemic came and there was no business downtown, I had to really, again, reimagine and recalibrate. And that was when I wrote my book. And I thought, well, okay, now I'll write the book, because there was literally no business. So I had all this knowledge, and I thought, well, why not? I'd always wanted to write, and I used to love writing articles. So I actually put pen to paper and I wrote my book. And that started a whole nother action of ideas, because when people lost their sense of smell from COVID, I was able to help them. So it's just amazing how this whole path of mine has gone from something so different to now, and yet it's all involved, and it's all very much part of who I
I
am.
think we need to do, I think this idea just came to me because someone recently said, if you ever do a movie of yourself, I'd like to play you. Okay. And I'm listening to you saying, what a great story. Well, I think we need to do an anthology of women's stories, Sue.
Yes.
I really do. So before we go on, I'd like to introduce you to Brian Coletto.
Sure.
And Brian is, I
Right.
think he came into our room in BWC, Breakfast with Champions, but Brian is in New Jersey. He lives in central New Jersey. And he is a very, very charming and very unique young man. He is on the autism spectrum. And I've never met anyone, Sue, on Clubhouse and probably off Clubhouse that has, you talk about clarity. This young man has worked for he'll share what he's done, but for 17 years, but he's worked his way up for director of marketing for this company. And he is one of the most prolific people on LinkedIn. Now he's he'll give the title of it, but on LinkedIn, but he does videos and this and that, but he is just, he really aspires to our message, truly aspires. So Sue,
Great.
I'd like you to meet Brian Coletto.
Hi, Brian. Nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Megan.
Hello, my
Hello.
friend.
Hello to everyone who is watching live or watching this on replay. Yeah, I'm Brian, and I am officially a marketing administrator for a nonprofit vocational rehabilitation agency for developmentally challenged adults in central New Jersey, my hometown of Edison. And I've been working there for about 14 and a half years. I just got promoted to the position this week.
Yay.
For 13 plus years, I was in the same position for a long time, and then I then got my first promotion last year, and I had a few job title tweaks throughout from the time of last year's promotion to this current one, and so I helped run their LinkedIn and Facebook pages, and I also help in the production room with labeling and packaging work, setting that up, making sure that's running smoothly. And I'm also an autism influencer, and I got government verification on LinkedIn a few months ago. I have not received verification on any other platform. Haven't tried to pay for any verification. I'm just working on earning it organically. And yeah, so.
Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
Brian. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, what does it mean, government clearance on LinkedIn?
Oh, it's just, it's sort of like the version of being verified on Facebook and Instagram. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very simple process, and it just provides a little bit of extra protection. So that's, and speaking of LinkedIn, I may be assisting some people at work with setting up LinkedIn for them as well. Nothing set in stone yet. So if anybody's looking back years from now, it's not confirmed as of this moment, but I may be doing that. Yeah.
Well, Pamela was on a bit ago, Brian, and she said, I don't see her now. She's on vacation in the Gulf Shores in Alabama, but she said, hi, Brian. But Sol Salcido, who is from BWC. Hello, Miss Sol. So good to have you here. I hope you had the opportunity to listen to Sue and I earlier. But if you'd like to join us and, just join the conversation, we'd love to have you. But Brian, back to you, my friend. So this is the quintessence of that focus, that, as Pamela said earlier, that intention of staying in, he's been there a long time. So I'm sure you have grown, Brian, in being with this company, this nonprofit. You learned a lot, you grew a lot. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah.
But when you were ready, you started to step out and started to expand your horizons. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Not just for the agency, but even before I got into networking in 2019, I used to participate with some faith-based young adult groups for a few years. And then as that began to fade out, That was when I got into the street fairs and networking before COVID hit, and then of course did a lot of virtual Zoom calls, and then getting on Clubhouse too.
Helped you. Well, with that, like you said, getting on Clubhouse, that is where Sue and I met. But during that season, Brian, as she just shared, that Sue wrote a book, and during the lockdown and changing in her studio and all that. But so I'd like you to share and bring to point of what that has opened the door. But before you go there, I went to BW's Glenn Lundy's consortium, as he called it then, in 21 in July. And I was in a cab coming down through Times Square, and I look up on the Jumbotron, and there is Sue Phillips, who I had been on Clubhouse with the Sunday before in her fragrance room. And I'm like, oh my goodness, now the cab driver, I'm yelling, and he's like, lady, but here is Sue Phillips. So share a little bit about that. But what I want you to highlight, back to Brian and what he has done, you took something that was potentially devastating to have to close your studio and your business during, and we all did. I mean, it was a very uncertain time, but you took that and used it and have helped so many people. So if you would share that, I'd love it.
Thank you. Well, when the pandemic came, and obviously, my downtown in Tribeca, everything closed down. And so that was the impetus for me to finally say, Sue, what are you going to do for the next year or so? So I wrote my book. I decided I would write my book. And over the years, I've written articles for magazines and industry publications, and I always knew that I wanted to write a book. But, it takes a lot of time. You have to be very focused. You have to be clear, and you have to be disciplined. And it's difficult because, I'm up all hours of the night. For some reason, my clock is, I'm much more productive at night when the phones are not ringing and there's no meetings and things are quiet. That's when I can really concentrate. So that's what I did for that next 10 months. I actually focused. And, I had told the people at the National Arts Club I was writing a book. And I had lectured there before. And they said, all right, Sue, we'll give you a book opening, a book signing. I said, great. And it was actually for around Valentine's Day, 2021. Yeah, or 2022.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this book, and then, it wasn't finished. And I was very nervous about it. And then it was the same about 4 months prior to the Valentine's Day, in about October, November. I wrote to her and I said, I'm not going to be finished. She said, that's fine. She said, guess what? We're booking the date. The date is yours. And then I realized, if I have that date, that's something that you've got to keep that. If that's a bird in the hand, just keep it. So then I rushed like crazy to finish the book. And I had the book launch at National Arts Club via Zoom, because of course we weren't able to meet. I'd had the book published by Central Park South Publishers. I had the book available. And over 700 people attended my Zoom book opening, which was great. So that was really exciting that I was able to have that. And, what happened was NBC wanted to do a story about the book. And the day before the interview, they said to me, do you think you could help a long hauler regain her sense of smell? And at the time, I didn't even know what a long hauler was or what it meant. It meant that somebody had not been able to smell for 15 or 18 months. And I said, look, I don't know, but I'll try. And I actually took her, she came to my boutique, and I took her on a fragrance journey, which I now called a scent healing journey, to go through all the different blends. And Megan has seen my perfume blends. And she was able to, the first one, no, she smelled nothing. Second, nothing. Third. And after the 14th one, she suddenly said, I smell something and it's beautiful. And she started to cry. And that was such a powerful moment, because not being able to, it's almost like if you're blind, suddenly you're able to see. And she was able to finally smell. And it was very emotional. And the story went viral. And I've helped over 200 people now regain their sense of smell. And because of that, and because of Clubhouse, interestingly enough, somebody contacted me via LinkedIn and said that she was a neuroscientist and she wanted to co-author a book with me. She's the neuroscientist. And I said, well, gosh, I'm so flattered. So we're going to be doing it. I have been very delinquent because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I just haven't had the time. But I also feel that when the time is right, it'll happen. And she's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And we will write this, and it'll be a wonderful book about basically my book is The Power of Perfume, but this is going to be a little bit more scientific driven. And I'm very excited about that, to write that second book with a very well-known neuroscientist. So that's very exciting.
So I'm listening to you, my friend, and thinking about Brian and everyone our guests who are listening. If you have a passion, stay with that. Brian, I mean, this woman, because she took her information, which you have a lot of in the arena of autism, and working with it and overcoming. Here she wrote a book and she ended up on the Jumbotron because she was interviewed. Goodness gracious. That could be you, Brian. That could be you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yes.
true.
Yes. So it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. It's just not. It's just a matter of decision to not stop, to continue.
Megan, it's so true. I have friends now who are retiring, and I've been in my own business. Well, I've been in America for 46 years. I've been in the working world for 45, because the first year I was just basically in the cosmetics industry 45 years, and I've had my own consulting business for 34 years. When I got contacted last year by somebody in Dubai, and they said, we've been watching you and following you for a long time. We think you can be the Joe Malone of America. And I said, quite sort of cheekily, well, I want to be the Sue Phillips of the world. And at a time when so many people, and older women, we're certainly not 25 anymore, are thinking of retiring, I feel that I'm just beginning. I really feel that I'm just beginning. I feel that all this has been sort of the overture, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to really help develop my brand. And so that's what I'm working towards.
Yes, you got to. Sue was out in the Hamptons this weekend, so you picked up a cold there. But I live vicariously, Brian, through Sue. I miss New York so much, and she is so involved in the arts and her career and her businesses. And this weekend, the 4th, she was out in Flanders Bay. My parents had a home on Shelter Island, so.
Oh.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, no, the Hamptons was lovely. I went to a party in the city on Tuesday night for the July 4th fireworks, and the apartment was so freezing cold that I just had a little tiny shirt on. And yesterday I was really cold, and you can tell it's coming back now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's, I think that, it's 8 o'clock now, and this is technically when we end, but I think that the message has been loud and clear, Sue, with, and with ending it with, it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. And this fact, like you said, that that was your first act. Now it is the second. And I feel the same way, and I feel so much more prepared for it because we have the experience of what we've done, the knowledge of what we've done, and the passion from what we've done. And we can take that and help people like Brian. I don't mean with what you specifically do, Brian, but meaning that you are building your life and your businesses, and even if you haven't started a business, that will come, my friend, that will come. Yes. And you now know where to knock on the door of. And so Brian has a vision, Sue. We'll end with this. Brian has a vision of having a meetup in New Jersey, in Edison, in Central Jersey. Sue, is a New York City gal, but she does sent events all over the country, all over the world. And she's done some in New Jersey that I've seen. Yeah. So we need to put something very special. I keep saying this to Brian, but we're going to make that happen. But it's going to be very special. It's going to be very unique.
That'd be wonderful. Absolutely.
So I'm thrilled that you guys met.
Yes.
Yes. So would you like to leave not only Brian and myself, Sue, but just a summation of clarity to you?
You know, I love what you talk about, the 5 C's, clarity. And clarity is so important because it's having the vision. It's understanding where you want to be. And so from going from point A to B is one set of clarity, and then from B to C, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's never going to be a straight path. I've realized that it's never a straight path from A to Z or A to Z. It could be A to B to C to D to E, and it can navigate and it could change. And I would say embrace those changes as they come. Don't say, oh, well, I should only be in one path and I should only be in one lane. A lot of times people say, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. But you know what? The lane can change. The lane can twist and turn. And I think it's important to follow the lane, but also to create your own lane, because we all know that certain lanes can lead to dead ends. And if you are motivated enough to set your own path, you can change the direction of your life so easily, with clarity, with confidence, with persistence, with never giving up. And I think one of the most important things is to be confident. You know, I'll leave you with this. Again, I go back to we're all at the some parts of our background. You know, sometimes we grow up with wonderful families who motivate us, who support us, and we're fine. Some families don't support and motivate you. So you never know where people are in life. But if somebody ever believes in you and says, you know, wow, that was great, or well done, or they give you a compliment, I think it's important to embrace it and to accept it and to say thank you. Because how often are we told, oh, you're so terrific? Well, not really. Or, wow, you look so beautiful. Your hat is so great. Well, it's an old hat. Or, you know, we denigrate and we decry instead of accepting and embracing. And I think when compliments happen, they're usually made from a place of authenticity and a place of love and a place of happiness. And it took me years and years and years to think this, because believe me, again, by my background, we were not a very overt country. We didn't talk about things, and it was always denigrating ourselves. And so I've learned in America that it's okay to accept a compliment graciously. And if people say that you're wonderful or you're terrific, or they love what you've done, or they like how you look, or congratulations on a new appointment, you don't have to denigrate it, and you don't have to justify it. You can just have to say thank you. Because by accepting it and thanking them, it will happen even more and more. And so when the people said to me, you know, Sue, you can be the Jo Malone of America. Are you joking? That's crazy. That has resonated with me. And now I'm saying to myself, well, why couldn't I be the Sue Phillips of the world? Why shouldn't I have my own brand? I'm smart. I'm talented. I've had this experience. You know what, guys? I'm going for it. And it's been such a different mind shift for me. And so that's been my focus. And again, I say it with all humility, in the face of accepting something that could be amazingly fantastic for me. So I think when you have those feelings and people compliment you and you want to compliment yourself, it's okay to compliment yourself. It's okay for you, Brian, to say, you know what? I got a job promotion this week. How wonderful. I worked so hard and I deserve it, and I'm going to make it work. And I think you should own that and just go for it, because we all need to be our own champions, you know?
Amen. 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 Thank you. For me as well, because it's a reminder. I say that often, Sue. Just say thank you. Meaning when I'm giving someone, you know, kudos, because I meant it, like you said, from love. So from love, I say thank you, Sue. for coming in tonight, to being here last week on Breakfast with Champions. So many comments, great comments, and just so appreciate you and our friendship.
I just want to say that, on Clubhouse, when we couldn't even see each other, we just avatars, and there was an immediate we immediately navigated towards each other because of your beautiful voice, your speaking voice, your optimism, your positivity, and just the fact that you're so giving, Megan. And I really want to say thank you to you for being such a wonderful champion and a friend, and you're being so overtly positive to me and to all the people in your rooms. And you've got a fantastic collection of people. Your rooms are great. So I thank you, my friend, and I'm so delighted that we are friends and that we've been able to do this. So thank you for you.
And we're just beginning, my friend.
Yeah.
Just beginning, yes. And Brian, would you like to share anything as we close?
Yeah. I was drawing some blanks, but I knew there were some things that I wanted to say. But yeah, it's I deal with traditionalists here at home, and so I work around that a lot. But yeah, so the place that I was thinking of, and this could be open to change, but Sue, I don't know if you've been to New Jersey Expo Center before. But
no, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, that's the place in New Jersey, because I know that there's been a lot of Clubhouse meetups at Expo Centers across the country, but we've never had anything in Edison. And since it's been hard to find ways to break free from my home life to go on this crazy travel journey and this journey of bringing Clubhouse to real life, I figured I would write something down and share it, and start to have the conversation and figure out some of the more finer details of everything. So,
Well, one of the things that, in reading your material and listening to you, we have to gain clarity. We have to gain clarity on, is it going to be like a little trade show? Should we just start with dinner and putting thoughts and plans together? So let's continue to keep talking, because I see a trade show. I mean, Sue and I know how to do trade shows. So many people have things that they would like to expose, Brian. So, and have everyone else learn about what they do, because that's one of the things that I see in Clubhouse. Yes, there's networking groups, Mom Link and the like, but how do you help monetize those other businesses? And it's also helping them understand how to start, scale, and sustain. So many things, but no, first what we're going to do is have dinner. That's the first thing. And when I come to visit my sister next time, Sue met my sister,
Yes.
Mary, I will come to you and we will have dinner and we'll get a feel, because I'm very visual. And so if I see things, I can start to put a plan together. Maybe you can meet me in New Jersey, so we can go together. So, well, thank you.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. Angelina, are you there, my dear?
I am. What an incredible session. Sue
and
Phillips.
also Pamela and Katrina, who came in.
So amazing. Yes, we want to say,
I just want to say I think we've got
thank
frozen a
you
little
to
bit.
Katrina. She wasn't able to come up and speak with us, but she is in the back room. Saul also popped in from New Jersey and said hello. And then I know that Pamela popped in for a little bit, and then she was watching the rest of it on Facebook. So again, Sue, thank you so much for an incredible time. You guys make sure you join us here every week. We are here Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, kicking off a deep dive every week with Megan and her amazing guest. Tonight we had Sue. We go on the 5 C's deep dive, and we went over clarity tonight. Every week on Tuesday, she's on Clubhouse in the 10 a.m. segment on Tuesdays, and then she has her Heart Link in the evening. So those are her Propel weeklies. These are deep dives. We have an incredible opportunity coming up too, where you can get more. Yes, there is more. Megan's actually going to be doing a challenge.
May I
a
share?
5-day
May I share?
Propel challenge. Yes. Make sure you guys register at propel.megandimartino.com/challenge. I'll let you go ahead.
But stay here, because I'd like you to do a screenshot.
Oh, yeah. So yes, we need to do our shares. Okay, so let me remove the challenge.
Then I'll mention about the Propel.
Yes, we need to do our picture selfie. So everyone smile. I love it. Thank you, Megan, for reminding me about that.
Well, I just know Sue will enjoy having it, and she can promote this segment.
Yay.
So, okay. But what Angeline was beginning to say, and this really crystallizes. Can you hear me, Sue? Good. Okay. What it crystallizes the journey of what Sue shared. I started this Propel project in 21 as well, after I sold a portion of my business, my spa business, in 20. And like you've said, and I have said all night, we have so much information to help others. And so I started working on this Propel Your Business and Life Activation Program. And it has 2 modules, a start module and a scale module, and videos and workbooks and all that jazz. And then there'll be a third, which is a mastermind called Sustain. Okay. Well, then I joined Clubhouse, got involved, involved starting a new brick and mortar, just like you, Sue, Evolve Again. And then I met Angeline Moore, this cutie pie right down there, who is a very, very talented IT systems gal. You need to know her, Sue. And she has been helping me basically put together, it was done, the program, but you need to market it. You need to take it to market, just like being interviewed and then ending up on the Jumbotron, and then being in book signings, and on and on and on. So I started this Propel branding this year with Propel Daily, which is a texting of a motivation and inspiration every day. You wake up with me. And then the Propel Weekly on BWC, that you were my guest last week, Sue. And then this deep dive on Thursday night. So getting a little taste of my work and who I am. And so Angeline and I, as well as many of us, have been studying Russell Brunson and Kim Walsh Phillips and Pedro Adao and people with their offers. So I've put together my first offer. Drum roll, please. Boom, 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 boom. And it is called the Propel 5-Day Challenge. And so she put up, Angeline put up on the screen there, the link to it's free. It's at 9 o'clock every morning. So have a cup of coffee with me. And every day this coming week, starting Monday, we're doing each C: clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. We're going to focus on them. I have basically the essences from the videos and the workbooks. There is a VIP that's available to you to get all the videos and get the first videos, the replays of the challenge, all 5 days. But also, and I'm going to each day give you an assignment, and it's going to build upon itself. But also with the VIP, you get the first video, which is clarity, and the workbook, which is, you can pay for the whole dang course, but this is going to be part of that for $97. So, but the everyday, free, nada. So join me and just sign up. And if you can't make it on Tuesday, come on Wednesday. But that's why we're also going to put every day's, of the day available to you. So did I leave anything out, Miss Angeline?
You got it. It's super exciting. So go to propel.megandimartino.com/challenge to join the 5-day Propel challenge. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, it'll be incredible. Thank you again, Sue. Oh, we lost her. We were having some tech issues. Thank you, Brian, for coming through. Katrina in the Garden of Excellence as a listener, and Pamela for popping in and then also continuing to watch us on Facebook. We'll be here again next week on the next C that we have for you of courage.
Thank you.
Any last words, Meg?
I just look forward to visiting with everyone next Monday. So do join us. It's going to be really organized in a fashion, like Pamela said, she received so much listening to Sue and I. But it's going to be broken down and in a fashion that you will truly get so much
in 1 hour. It's just 1 hour of your time.
1 hour.
To really, you're going to be challenged to really start propelling your life, guys. This is going to be absolutely incredible. And it's free. So register. Yes, there's a VIP option for you to get the recordings and all the things, but definitely tap in to what Megan's going to share because it's going to be so cool. I can't wait. All right.
Okay. See you. Hopefully see you Monday. I know you're working, Brian, but hope to see you.
Bye.
Be blessed. Thank you, guys.